You know what's funny? So many people say that they want to stand out online, but then they create content that looks, sounds, and feels exactly like everyone else's. So let's just be real for just a second. Your people cannot find you if you keep hiding behind safe, subpar, vanilla, like everyone else's content. You will just remain unseen. And what I have learned in the near decade that I've been running a business online and attracting via my own content is that visibility truly is not about posting more. It's about daring to be seen differently. So today we are talking about how to make your content impossible to ignore. We are getting into the energy and strategy today, okay? We're hitting both angles. I've got you hooks that hypnotize. I've got you storytelling that seduces versus snoozes. And hot takes that will magnetize and polarize, because when you start creating as your most audacious, delicious, authentic you versus the people and the algorithm pleasing fake you, visibility stops feeling forced and starts feeling natural and magnetic, which is what we all want and what we all deserve and what is possible for each of us. So let's get into it. Welcome to All In with Allie, the podcast for online business owners and entrepreneurs who are ready to create the life and business of their dreams. I am so happy you are here. We are continuing the visibility and audacity theme for the month. I hope you have been enjoying the other episodes on this theme. I sure have. And the feedback that we have been getting is great. A lot of you are enjoying this. So thank you for screenshotting and sharing in your stories. Thank you for sliding into my DMs and letting me know your aha moments. And thank you for the kind reviews of the podcast and for the engagement and subscribers on YouTube. This is all so helpful. So truly thank you for just listening. Even if you didn't do those things, thank you for being here and listening. So again, today we're getting into content that cannot be ignored. How to make your content impossible to ignore. So like I said, we're going to come at this exactly how you should come at everything in your business, which are two sides of the coin. We have the energy side of the coin and we have the strategy side of the coin. Both are equally as important. And when you can marry the two and get the two in alignment with each other and in alignment with where you want to go, you are unstoppable. So our content is no exception. It's equally as important as every other strategy and every other thing that we do. And therefore we need to come at it from both sides. So we're going to start with the energy piece. What is the energy behind unignorable content? What is that? So first of all, what this means is content that actually hits. And I've been talking about this a lot lately. I have ads running right now, and kind of my hook in these ads is, look, you don't need a ton of engagement to have a thriving business. I am the poster child of this. To me, we really need to put these metrics in perspective. If you are an influencer and your business requires high amounts of engagement and high amounts of followers, that's one thing. But if you have a business that is more like mine, and by the way, if you are an influencer and that's your business model, keep listening because all of this is going to help your content. But my point is if you have a business that's like mine, where we're not looking necessarily for thousands of buyers. I mean, that would be great, right? Like that is the goal for sure. If your business is set up that way and you have the space for it. But most of us can have an incredibly thriving business. I'm talking 6 figures, multi 6 figures, even into multi 7 figures with comparatively very low followers and low engagement. And I've talked about this ad nauseum, right? Like I know, Dr. Andrea Morningstar, she's the example that I always use for this, right? She literally had a $1 million day and I think like $1 million month, like really early in her business. And she had like no followers. I mean, I think she had like 3,000 followers at the time, very little engagement. But the difference here is her content was visible and unignorable by the right people, right? So what I hate to see is when women come into my world and they say, well, I only have this many followers and I only get this much traction. I can't fathom how this will grow into something meaningful. And I have to be like, why are you equating the two? We don't have to do that. Now, can more engagement and more of the right followers help our business? 100%. So it's important that we clean up our visibility wounds. It's important that we do prioritize the quality of our content, hence this conversation, but don't let that be a block and a limit to the sales that you get. Because I have to tell you, most of my clients, the ones that have paid me the most over the years and the ones who come back again and again and again, I very, very rarely see commenting on my stuff. It's the lurkers, right? Lurkers can be lifers if you try hard and believe in yourself. If you know how to create content that converts them. All right. So unignorable content is content that attracts in the right buyers and makes them want to buy whether they're engaging or not. I don't care if you like my stuff, but if we're a good fit, let's work together. Let me support you and your business. Now, the reason why we're starting with the energy of unignorable content first is because before strategy and after strategy and during strategy, there's frequency. Okay? Everything is frequency. Everything is energy. So if we can get the frequency in check, the strategy is going to work that much better. It's like fire and gasoline, right? Your strategy is the fire. It's helpful, right? Like if you want to cook, we need a fire. But the better your frequency, the more aligned your frequency is with what you are wanting to create, that's gasoline on that fire. That's going to improve how powerful that fire is. So frequency is probably the most important. And I think this is why, even though my content looks like it's underperforming, like to the untrained eye, right? If you go and scroll my stuff, you might be like, well, shoot, does anybody even like her? Like, what's the deal here? But I think the reason why, I know for sure the reason why it works and it converts and I get the level of sales that I do and I get to support the women at the frequency and the rate that I do is because of the frequency behind it all. Number one, I don't have a story about the amount of engagement I need to be successful. And number two, I am a match for the women who want to work with me. And I make that very, very clear because I've stopped the people pleasing and I say the thing and I show up in that energy. All right. So at the end of the day, here's like the gist of it. We can sum it up with this. You cannot use bland energy and expect bold results. So if you are creating content, feeling all blah about it, What did I do? Oh, that's a shadow. I like kind of lightly scratched my chest. If you're watching the video, I'd like lightly scratched my chest and I saw this dark mark and I was like, why am I turning? Like, what did I just do? It was a shadow. Anyway, I digress. I see all the time women frustrated with their content, hating the whole experience. And then I see them like talk about their content and create their content and they're so blah about it. It's like they go into their content creation experience like they're going into the dentist. Like, I don't really want to do this, but Allie said I should, and I know that it's important, so I'm just going to do this, right? Like they're going to get a freaking root canal. And then they're wondering why they're not going viral. And they're wondering why that's not attracting in the people. So I've learned this the hard way. You can say all of the perfect things. You can chat GPT this shit out of your scripts and you can get the most delicious background and again, the perfect script and you can look stunning and you can whatever. But if your energy is whatever, your results will be whatever too. Period. So I think I wish I'd said this first, like the first thing here is for your frequency to be a match for what you're wanting to create, the results that you're wanting to create. We need to fall in love with creating content again. We need to romanticize it. We need to have some fun. I'm not saying it has to be like this every single day, but there needs to be energy behind it. You have to be excited even. And I don't mean like you need to be smiley about it, but you need to like whatever it is that you're saying, you need to be excited to say it, even if it's angry, even if it's passionate, even if it's sad. There has to be this like, I know this message needs to be heard and I'm excited to put it out into the world. So if the energy is low, okay, that's very different than like bouncing. I'm not saying like you have to be happy all the time. Like low energy does not mean sad, does not mean angry. Low means you don't really want to be doing it. It's just like, here I am. It's not going to work, right? So like be how you are, feel how you feel. You can feel indifferent about the day, but still have a frequency behind your message. That's what's important. A frequency that's a match to the leader that you want people to perceive you as. That's what we're going here. So when it comes to your content, the reason why it's not just the aesthetics that works. The reason why you can have the ingredients of the recipe, but not get the result is because your audience, they don't just read and look at your content as black and white. They feel the energy. They feel the conviction, right? And like how people say, when something is like so delicious, it's like, it's made with love. And it's like, that's energy, that's conviction, that's passion and a level of frequency. Like I wanted to create this for you. This made me happy to do this for you. That will make a difference in the end result. So what we want to do here is we want to command the attention now. We want to step into that leader frequency and energy now, not when and not if, ... That's what normies do. Normies say, what comes first, the audience or the leader? Well, the audience. So when the audience comes, I'll show up as a leader. When the engagement's there, I'll enjoy making content. When the sales are there, I'll be more consistent. And thus, they continue to spin their reels and create more of the same because they're coming at it completely opposite. Leaders and smart women of the internet say, I'm going to show up as her now. If I build it, they will come. Do you know how accurate that phrase is, that quote is? If you build it, they will come. That's with everything. That is, you go first, right? That's if I believe it and then I'll see it. Most people are, I see it and then I'll believe it. The secret is I believe it and then I see it. I build it and they show up. I lead and they listen. I believe I have something to say now. I believe I have something valuable to sell now. I show up in that energy and they buy. Not the other way around. I can promise you right now, if you do it the other way around, we're going to have a hard time. So this is where our delulu comes in. This is where a little bit of foolishness comes in. This is where you might feel a little silly. And very few people are willing to do this. Very few people are willing to put their ego aside and show up as a leader now when they have 10 people liking their stuff. Like, moi, I don't care. I've been doing it long enough and I already have the result because I know the secret behind this. So if you want to nail the energy behind unignorable content, then you do not wait for the followers first and the engagement first to command their attention. You command now. You show up in that energy now and watch them flock. That's it. It's that simple. It's that simple and it's that complicated. But that's it. So the cheat code here, if you love a cheat code like me, is if you were to imagine in your mind, like whatever the magic number of followers is that you're looking for, that you're telling yourself is the magic number, I want you to imagine you have that now. I want you to imagine that you have 100,000 people in your audience following you because they love your message, because they love the value that you give, because they love your authentic energy. They think you're funny, they think you're cute, and they think that you are the best at what you do. If those things were true right now, what would your next post be? What would your social media content be and strategy? See why we handle that energy first? Because I don't know about you, but when I think of my stuff like that, then that changes the strategy. I even get caught up in this sometimes because I'm like, I know I should be posting every day or just about. I'm a big quality over quantity type person, so I don't believe in posting every day. But I believe in hella consistency, especially with our content. It only helps. It only helps. But there are times where I'm like, am I really going to work past 5 p.m. to make this post that 30 people are going to like? But if this was 300, if this was 3,000 likes on a post like I know eventually we'll get to, yeah, I would. Because that would be more than worth my time. And I know how that would benefit my business. Well, how the hell do you think you get from 30 likes to 3,000? By getting through this season right here. You can't bypass this phase. 30 is on its way to 300, is on its way to 3,000, is on its way to 3 million. That's how you get here. You don't skip. You show up in that energy now. And the ones who get there the fastest are the ones who understand this and started showing up in that and went all in and did the thing now. So then they went through that 30 and that 300 and that 3,000 real fast. But they still had to go through it. Okay? Now, we also want to reframe visibility and attention. Okay? Because at the end of the day, what I have said since day one, if you have their attention, you can have their sale. So we want to command attention, but there is an energy behind this. All right. Because, and there is a fine line. There's chasing energy. There's try hard energy where it's like, what can I do? What trend? What can I say? What, to like, I have to get their attention. I have to earn their attention. I have to force the attention. And then there's more of like commanding. There's more of like, it's so hard to put words, right? It's like, I mean, I guess if I wanted to be cliche, but it's true, it's accurate. There's chasing and there's attracting. Chasing visibility, chasing attention looks like, what can I do? How can I perform to get you to see me and to like me or react to me? You're a puppet. You're a tool, like a literal, you're not even human. They're playing you, basically. So there's that, which I don't recommend. And then I know who I am. I know the value that I bring to the table. I know what I say is helpful, and I know that she wants to hear it. I know she needs to hear it. So I'm going to convict myself first. I'm going to align my energy first. I'm going to fix my relationship with visibility. So I'm comfortable being actually seen first and being misunderstood first. And then I'm going to speak and transfer that wisdom. Big difference. So it's not about forcing, it's about commanding attention through that certainty, through that self-trust, and essentially emotional resonance. A match, frequency match. So like, the whole, if you build it, they will come. It's like, okay, well, if we apply that here, you're the garden. You are the garden. They're the butterflies. A garden does not chase butterflies, right? A garden does not act like, I don't know, a dog one day and then a barn house another day. This is so stupid. To like, chase a butterfly. Oh, the butterfly's over here. Let me act like the dog over there. So it will maybe pay attention to me. No, a garden is just a garden, and it knows it's a garden, and it's secure and that it's a garden, and it knows that when the butterfly sniffs the garden and what the garden has over here, it's going to come, and it'll come back again and again and again, because the garden, it's secure and it knows, and it doesn't have to do much at all. It just is. It just is. That level of trust and certainty is intoxicating. That's when you're really like that. When you tap into that, you've tapped into something big. Like when you really, really get that. But you gotta kind of experience first. Okay, so you're the garden, your audience is the butterflies, you're the lighthouse, your audience are the ships in the night looking for you. You don't have to do much. You don't have to pretend to be anything else. You're you, but you know that you're you. And you know that for the right people, that's enough. You're it. And you know that. Okay? So something that I want you to ask yourself next time you post is, if you knew your next post was going to go viral, what would you really say? And would you be comfortable with that? That's a really good way to check in with your visibility wounds or relationship with potential visibility. If you went viral, how would you feel about what it is that you're saying? And then again, if 100,000 people or whatever the elusive magic number is, people were watching you, how would you show up? How would you speak? What would your energy be? I guarantee you, you will find gaps between how you're showing up now versus how you would show up then. You bridge that gap, you're going to change the result. Okay? All right. So that's the energy behind unignorable content. It's good stuff. Now we're going to get into the anatomy of unignorable content, the actual pieces of it, the hooks, storytelling, hot takes, the things that actually are working right now. Okay. So with our posts, the most important part of your post, bar none, is the first few seconds of it. The first part. It's a micro window that you have to get and hold someone's attention. Okay. So when I'm working with a client and she's complaining about her content, and then I go into her stories, and I'm guilty of this too, for sure, but I'll go into her stories or I'll look at her content, and, she takes 5 fucking minutes to get to the good part of the story, or to get to the point of, or to sell, or to whatever. And it's like, honey, you missed us 4 minutes and 55 seconds ago. Like, what are we doing? And it's not necessarily that we have to water down our content or necessarily do things that are off brand for the sake of attention. That's not it. But there is a game to be played here. And that game changes all the time. That's the social media landscape. What's working now in social media. So if you want to use this tool to your benefit for your business, you have to play the game and play by the rules. So first thing is, we have this micro window to get and hold somebody's attention. So how you start a video, and then the hook, right? Whatever you have, like the title of the video or whatever's on, the first few seconds of that video is incredibly attention. That's why they call it a hook, because it hooks you in and it keeps you there versus scrolling. So I want you to consider that. Really think about that. Get to the damn point. So examples of strong hooks, and you can get, this is where ChatGPT can be your friend. Okay. Listen, I'm not going to get into ChatGPT because I could go all day. Use it. Okay. Please use it. But the point is not to literally write every word, right? If you sound like ChatGPT, you sound like somebody else. I don't care how, quote, personalized your GPT is. They're pulling that content from somebody else's shit. So how I want you to use ChatGPT is come up with the idea, or have chat get you some ideas, fill it out with your own brain, use your own verbiage, but then go to chat and say, yo, chat, here's the video I just recorded. Here's the gist. Give me like the most viral of viral hooks. Like, how can I sum this up? Sometimes it's going to give you an idea better than yours. There have been other times, though, that I had an idea for a hook. I put it in chat and I was like, you don't get it, ChatGPT. And I just used my own. So at the end of the day, don't assume that ChatGPT knows more than you. Okay. First and foremost, like you know your stuff better, you know your audience, and we have intuition for a reason. So don't override that, but use it as the tool that it is, but it's not the whole thing. Okay. Use it as the tool, not your brain. There. So examples of strong hooks might sound something like, most people won't tell you this, but I am now. Okay, you have my attention. Another one, if you want to lose blank fast, keep doing this. Or if you want to gain blank fast, keep doing this. If you want this result, do this. If you don't want this result, stop doing that, right? To the point, it's sticky, it's interesting. Great. If they're interested in whatever the blank is, they're probably going to keep listening. Another example, you don't need another strategy. You need this mindset shift. You don't need another blank. What you need is actually this. Okay, well, I didn't want to do blank anyway, so please tell me what the this is. Tell me what the other thing is. Those are examples of good hooks. If you've been waiting for a sign to go all in on your business, this is it. And I have a juicy coupon code for all in listeners only, so make sure you don't miss it. The newly rebranded and upgraded All In experience isn't just another coaching program. It is the last coaching container you will ever need to grow your business your way to the level you want. Here is what's inside. You will get 4 live coaching calls every single month where you get unlimited time to ask your questions and get coached on exactly what you need. You get 4 private one-on-one calls that you can use anytime throughout the year for deep, personalized, custom support. You get instant access to every single program I've ever created, new and old, so that you have a full library of trainings at your fingertips the second you join. And you also will receive monthly subconscious reprogramming to rewire your beliefs and keep you aligned with wealth, success, and visibility that you are calling in. This is not a Band-Aid. This is not a quick fix. This is the container that gives you everything you need to create undeniable traction, build consistent momentum, and scale your business your way. So if you are ready to stop searching for the next thing and finally go all in, this is your moment. Click the link in the show notes to learn more about the All In experience. And for a limited time, you can use code ALLINWITH to join and save a whopping 25% off for a full year. I can't wait to see you on the inside and on the next call with us. If you have any questions, you can DM me on Instagram. So tips for this, tips for your hooks. I already gave you the ChatGPT one. But what I do is, and this might seem obvious, but sometimes not so much. Sometimes I surprise myself. Do the video first, get the gist of the video, record it, and then at the end come up with a hook. Don't try and go backwards. Don't try and start with I mean, you can do that, but sometimes I'll get to the end of a video and I'll be like, oh no, the hook is actually this thing, so like do it first and then come up with the hook after. And then another thing, don't be afraid to rearrange your video. So there have been times like, when I'm creating a post or a reel and it's a talking head one, I'll like introduce the topic, right? I'll kind of like warm up into it a little bit. And then I start getting fired up, right? Then your girl's awake. I'm awake. I'm activated and I'm popping off. Now, I'm not saying you have to pop off in your content, but I'm saying this tends to be true for a lot of people where like we're warmed up a little bit and about 30 seconds in or so, like we're saying some really good stuff, right? We're activated. There have been times where I'm like, wait a second. I could just cut out that first 30 seconds and just get like straight to the point here. And it like never, it didn't really occur to me that I could do that. And so I've started doing that. You can't do it every single time. It doesn't always work out that way. But I've been doing that lately where I just like go straight to the part where I'm activated. And then sometimes I can go back and add in that beginning somewhere else in the video to like give a bit more context. So don't be afraid to rearrange your video to make it more enticing and to make it more sticky. Right? We want it to be sticky so people stick around and watch it. And then always ask yourself, what would get your attention here? Watch it with naked eyes, right? Like, if this is your first time, if you're scrolling mindlessly, what are the things that would get your attention? What's a hook that would get your attention? When have I lost you? Ask yourself those questions. And then within the bulk of the video, I want you to utilize storytelling or giving a hot take. Like usually just one of those works really, really, really well. These are the things that are working best right now. So if you're going to utilize storytelling, which is I like using both. And also you can give hot takes via storytelling. So you can do both, but that's typically what works best. And if you're doing storytelling, there's storytelling that snoozes, and then there's storytelling that seduces. You like that? So cheesy, but it's true. It's true, right? You got to remember, and we have this small window to capture their attention, but then we got to hold that attention. So get to the damn point. Put, whatever context needs to be there, that's absolutely necessary, but get to the point. This is where editing can be your friend, because sometimes, like, if you try and rush to tell a story, it's not going to be as good. So if you record it and just tell the story how you would tell a friend, animated, full of energy, then you can go back and you can cut out any of the parts that don't necessarily have to be there. Like, what absolutely has to be kept for them to get the value and them to understand what they need for this video. That's how I want you to edit it. All right. But storytelling is so powerful in content, because not only does it hold attention so much better than just like trying to teach people, but this is how, like, you kind of sneak past people's logic brain and get straight to their emotions, get straight to their subconscious, right? People are watching and they're expecting something. They're thinking about a million different things. And then when you can turn on the storytelling, then they shift to being entertained, and their mind is more susceptible to ideas and whatever it is that you're wanting them to do in that video. So that's where the seducing comes in, right? Like, I'm going to hold your attention so well so that you see my point of view here, so that you utilize this tip, so that you get into my next training, or whatever the point is. So again, this is where we want to be mindful of the game that we're playing on social media. You have to remember why people are using social media. Like, yes, it's such a great tool for us to teach and to give value, but it has to be through the way that people want to take in the teaching and the value. You have to remember, why are people scrolling right now? Are they scrolling to learn something? Are they scrolling to go through a 7-part, how-to on how to do whatever? It depends. Usually, the reason why they're scrolling is to turn their mind off and to be entertained and to get that dopamine hit. So if you can, again, trick them into thinking they're being entertained while also infusing the message and the value, now you're winning the game. Now you're a content creating king. Okay? So these are the things that you want to think about, and I forget this a lot too. Like, I'll be super fired up and I'll be like, oh my God, this tip is life-changing. So in a way, I'm just like, it doesn't matter how I share this. They're just going to be happy that they're getting the tip. No, they're not, because they're not going to watch it because they're bored. I'm boring them to death. All right. So I have to get their attention. I have to hold it. I had the idea a couple of weeks ago, because I had this analogy that worked so well for business in general, which was like, or not business, business obviously, but like how the universe and how God doesn't give you everything that you want right when you want it, and how that's not because we're not cared for and because God hates us. It's because actually God loves us so much. And the analogy that I used was, this is like why I don't give my son the keys to a car right now. Would my son, my 7-year-old, love to drive a car right now if I let him? Probably. But I love him, so I'm not going to give him keys to a car. That's love. So I almost recorded a story basically telling that just like that, right? Like, if you're not getting results in your business, it's not because God doesn't love you. As a matter of fact, it's because God loves you so much. Here's an example. I love my child more than anything. He would love to drive my car. I'm not gonna, that's literally how I was going to tell the story. And then, thank God, I was like, or you can be smarter than that. What would be another way to tell the story that gets the same message across, that gets the same exact thing but holds attention? So I started the reel by saying, this is going to get a lot of hate, But I have decided to let my 7-year-old start driving now, and I'm going to tell you why. That's how I started the video. And I went about 20-ish seconds in. I can't remember what else I said, but I kind of like let it ride a little bit. And I was like, look, I know people are gonna, but this is a decision we've made. And he's so responsible for his age. He's a really good listener. He's not like normal 7-year-olds. And I'm his mom. I know him best. And this is the decision. And I got about that far. And then I busted out laughing. And I was like, that's crazy, right? Like, literally, I just rage baited you, and for good reason. And then I switched it and I said, but do you realize this is the same thing as the thing that you want really bad that you're not getting yet in your life? You think the universe is punishing you. You think the universe is making you take a little bit more time to get that thing because you're being punished. Or you are actually making it mean that you're not good enough. You're making it mean something about you. When in reality, you're not getting that because you are so loved and cared for. And God knows if you were to get the thing that you want right now, it would hurt you versus help you. There are some things that you need to learn still to be able to hold whatever it is that you're wanting to create. This video performed so well for me. And I knew it instantly because I started getting, first came all the comments of like, oh my God, I almost lost my mind. Oh my God, I was typing a comment and then you got me. Oh my gosh, this is so funny. And then some people were like, actually, I wasn't too mad about it. I'd let my kid, but like it got all of this response. And then came the people that were like, because they actually watched, then they got the gist. They're like, wow, this is actually so brilliant the way that you set that up. And like the parallel there and the analogy. So I got it. I imparted that gold into them by storytelling and doing it in a creative, interesting way that actually held their attention. Okay. So that's how I want you to like think about your content. It might take a little bit extra time to create it, to actually plan. But if you get a better result, it would be worth it, no? Okay. So here's a framework. If you have a pen and paper, or you can just, come back to this. But a quick framework for seducing storytelling would be, we're going to start with a relatable problem. Okay. What is something that you know that she's dealing with, something that she's struggling with? And then there's usually some, there's like the arc, which is like the realization, a turning point, something, which leads to the peak of the story, which is the audacious action, the point of the whole thing. And then comes the transformation and the insight. And then if you want to sum it up or whatever. Okay. So that's just a framework, but that can be, filled in with whatever you want. But like, for example, for my reel with Cruise and, the driving one in the universe, the relatable problem was, this can be rearranged. Okay. So the relatable problem was this feeling of, I want this thing so badly and it hasn't happened yet. And that makes me feel bad about myself. That makes me feel unloved. That makes me feel like I'm different from other people. That makes me feel like I'm doing something wrong, or that I'm, running behind and other people are better than me. That's a relatable problem. And then comes the realization of, wait a second, it's not because there's something wrong with me. It means like I still have a little bit to learn. And it actually means that I'm so loved and I'm actually protected. Otherwise, I would already have the thing. And the audacious action is moving in that energy and understanding that versus beating yourself up and taking it personally, which transforms the whole experience. And then I summed it up with a juicy hook, which was the story of my son, right? So like that's kind of a loose framework for you. All right. And then, with your hot takes, right? Hot takes are so, so helpful in your content. These are like, the opinions, these are the insights that you have gained from your experience in your business or just watching people or whatever. So hot takes are only hot if they're opposing. That's what a hot take is. That's what makes it a hot take. Okay. If it's a lukewarm take, it's because most people feel that way. It's only hot because it's polarizing. That's why it's hot. But that's also what makes a hot take magnetizing, because the only way you can magnetize is if at the same time you polarize. And the more polarizing something is, the more equally magnetic it is too. So that's why hot takes in our content are really powerful. Obviously, these are something that you're not going to have every single day. If you do, that's great. I don't know how you do. But these are things that kind of come once in a blue moon where you're like, wait a second. Everybody thinks like a hot take for me was where I realized all of these coaches are like equating, all this value to their engagement and to their followers and to their sales. And I was like, wait a second, that's not ultimately true. So my hot take is fuck likes, get sales, like screw those metrics. Pay attention to this instead. That's a hot take. That's something that you don't hear a lot of people talking about. All right. So here's the thing though. This is what you need to understand. Hot takes aren't just about being controversial. That's not it. We're not trying to be controversial. What makes a hot take so good is your conviction. You believe it, even if it's a little scary to say out loud. Okay. So I hate so much people who like rage bait as in their content as a strategy, right? They're just trying to be controversial because they're like, well, if I have their attention, I can have their sale. Could be true, but also you start losing trust and credibility there. Like we want this to be authentic to you. Okay. So use these sparingly when they're real. It's not about being controversial. We could be controversial every single day. It's not really what it can work sometimes. There are absolutely examples of where this works, but how it works the best is when there's that conviction in there. All right. So here's a really, really, really good tip for you for anybody who's wanting to utilize more hot takes and find examples of hot takes in your industry. I want you to go to your competition, listen to what they're saying, listen to what they're preaching, and then find the points that you disagree. Okay? The points where you're like, wait, that's not how I see it. Wait, I do things differently. Oh, okay. It's because we have a different belief system here. There's a potential hot take in there. All right. So we want to go opposite of our competition. I actually just listened yesterday, to the Cutting Room Floor podcast. It's on Patreon. It's really good. The host, she interviews a lot of fashion people, a lot of influential people in fashion. And I listened to the Cult Gaia episode with Jasmine Larian. And if you're familiar with Cult Gaia, it's this brand that creates a lot of standout, very interesting conversation starter type pieces, right? Like they create, like, for example, one of their purses, it's like a bundle of grapes. That's what it looks like. And it's these like mini pieces of art, but they're super different. But she said something that I loved so much. And I was like, that's the tea. That's it right there. That's such a powerful strategy. And she said, what we do, she said, I don't like, just something that I do to like gain inspiration is I'll go to one of our biggest competitors and I'll basically like do the opposite of what they're doing. So for example, one of her biggest competitors is The Row. So if you know anything about the brand The Row, this is made by the Olsen twin sisters. The Row is very minimalist, very high end, very luxury, very quiet luxury, very, very minimalistic. Like You can't see the brand name, no logos, nothing. It is quiet, 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 but luxury. And the prices reflect that. So that's her competition, but she would be the stark opposite. Okay. So she'll be like, she'll see, they're doing flip flops this way, and she'll kind of just like, that'll just give her inspiration of like, how can she do flip flops in a different way? Because she understands while the row might be wildly successful and has a cult-like following, there's also people who don't want quiet luxury. They want more loud. They're more maximalist. So she doesn't she doesn't look at the row. See, this is what normies do. Normies say, oh, look how successful that brand is. I need to be more like them because look at all the people buying from them. They already have their buyers. Those people already have their brand. You want to say, oh, look, there's all of these cult followers over here. That means that there's people who don't like minimalist whatever. They don't like this look. They don't like this strategy. They don't like this approach. So let me be the opposite. That's one of the smartest things you can do. Now, you don't want to create the opposite just for the sake of creating the opposite. You want it to be authentic to you. So let me give you another example. And I had this breakthrough when I was in Melanie Ann Layer's mastermind, Unity Mastermind. It was so incredible because I was learning from the best of the best. Like objectively, she is one of, if not the best at what it is that she does. She's a masterpiece. She's incredible. She's a genius. So working under her and learning from her and her being my mentor for 2 years was incredible. But something started to happen. If you know Melanie and you follow her, she is so poised, right? Like she is the epitome of poise and grace. And she's so well spoken. And she's just like, truly, like she speaks like art. She speaks like poetry. So what started to happen was I was looking at her and I was like, oh my God, I admire her so much. I love her so much. She's so fucking successful. That's what I need to be. If I admire her and if I love her and I want a business that's as successful as hers, I need to be like Melanie. I need to be more poised. I need to stop cursing. I need to, speak like poetry. I need to, and I kind of like was trying to mirror her in so many different ways. And then eventually I snapped out of it because I had to, because that just wasn't authentic to me. And I was like, well, and I finally just got to the point where I was like, well, this is just who I am. But then I realized, wait, good. Because let me tell you something, as shocking as it is to me, it makes no sense to me, but there are people out there that don't want to work with Melanie. It makes no sense to me. I can't fathom it, but she's not for them. Something about the way, how poised she is and the perfection and the art of what she does repels people. They're looking for something more raw or more whatever, like whatever the thing is they're looking for. And crazy enough, there are people that had the choice to work with me or Melanie and they came and worked with me, right? So like, that's how that works. There's my whole point in this is like, I went on quite the tangent here, but there's so much value. Like when you really, really get this, we're not trying to be like competition, right? Like they might have a model that works, but take that model and make it you. You are who you are on purpose for a reason. There is gold in that. Don't fight that. Don't cover that. Don't try and contort yourself to be something that's working for somebody else. It's working for them because it's them. And it will work for you if you let it be you. Okay. So what I would like you to do here with your content is I want you to do a quick little audit on your content at some point. And I want you to really think, and you don't need to go back and delete and re-record things. Don't do all that. Just start fresh today. But I do think it would be helpful to go and audit your content and ask yourself, does this sound like me? Or Or does this sound like somebody that I'm trying to sound like? Does this sound like me or my mentor? Does this sound like me or my competition? Does this sound like me or that podcast that I listen to or whatever? Does this sound like me or ChatGPT? That'd be a good one for you. All right. Okay. And then finally, we're going to take all of that, right? Our hooks, our storytelling, and our hot takes and the energy piece. And we're going to turn this into a content practice, right? We're going to infuse all of this with Audacity. So what I mean by that is, again, we're going to take the same idea of if you had 100,000 people or however many people, not only how would you show up in this particular post, but how would you show up as a whole with your whole content? Because nobody is made or broken from one piece of content. It's not enough to go viral one time. It's not enough to make one piece of, like, this is our job. Our job is to give value. You don't have to do it every single day, but it behooves you and your business to stay front and center of mind. And we do that with our content. So how I want you to do this consistently is, number one, I want you to do your best, if possible, to try and create before you scroll. And if you can't do that, I want you to absolutely get your mind right, get your energy right before you create. I want you to do that anyway. Okay? Again, how would I say this? How would I record this if I'm going to maximize that tiny little window? If I'm going to get and hold their attention? What's one way that I can say this is going to get that will make them stay? I'm going to infuse it with the energy of, and how would I say that if 100,000 people were watching me and were already here and already ready to buy and get this value from me? Okay. And then if you can do that before you scroll, this is going to protect your energy even more. It's going to protect your originality, and it's going to keep it hot. Another tip here, creating from emotional moments, not neutral ones. This is sometimes easier said than done. But some of my best content is when, like, I'm in the energy now. I'm fired up now, right? I'm feeling it now. There's been so many times that I let that moment pass because I'm like, well, I look like shit. So let me go freshen up first. Or that was too emotional. That was too whatever. Let me make it more poised, right? Let me make it more together. And then it just doesn't go as well. And then there's been times where I'm just like, fuck it. I'm going to say the thing and I'm going to go. Ooh, one thing. I have a little preview, a little teaser for y'all. That's what I was trying to come up with. Somebody is coming on the podcast very soon. And some of you know her very well, actually from TV. But I was talking to her the other day, actually, and she's been blowing up recently. Like, she's been going crazy viral, like cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs viral, literally overnight, right? She's been in the content game for a really long time and it's really popping off. And she's coming on the podcast. We're going to break all this down. Okay. I'm not going to tell you who it is yet. However, I will tell you one thing that she did that she told me. I don't want to give too much away. Okay. So I'll just give this one little part. She pulled up to a store and she was about to get out and she got an idea for content in the store. Okay. She's an influencer and she got this idea and she got like this cute little tagline. Like, it was just in her head. And she was like, oh my God, I love that. That would be so, like, she found this angle of like something that she could go record in the store. And she said, Allie, I took my camera, I flipped it around and I just started talking and I just went with it and I rolled with it. She was like, I looked like shit. She said, I was not prepared for this. I didn't have a ring light. I didn't have my tripod. I had nothing. She said, I was not planning on this. I got the inspiration. I went and I just posted it. She said, I kind of went with it. It was unlike me. And it went crazy viral. And that's it right there. Right. So it's not so much about being emotional, right? Sometimes like your content can be really good because you're genuinely super excited in that moment, or you're genuinely super activated in that moment, which will help. But it's also about the inspiration. It's also about the magnetism. It's also about the freshness of the idea. There's, if you ever read Big Magic by Elizabeth Gilbert, she talks about this, like, ideas, like, they hit you and that's when they're most potent. And the faster that you can take action on them, typically the better that they'll work because of that. It's when we take that idea and then we get our hands all over it and then we shift it and we contort it and we mix it and we over perfect it and we overthink it. We take out all of the innate magic that was already there. We mess with a good thing. So anyway, all of that to say, create from fresh energy, emotional, fresh energy. Don't try and overthink it. And then I want you to create as if you're speaking to one person, the one person being the most, like, who you're the most comfortable with. All right. That is like my best secret. It's not a secret at all. I talk about it all the time. My best tip for me that works so well for me. Like how I got a comment the other day that was like, I don't even know who I am anymore. I've been trying to people please and I've been trying to like contort and all these things and try and make it perfect. I don't even know what my true voice is anymore. And I so understand that because I went through the same thing. But I realized my true voice is what I say and how I say it when I'm speaking to the person who I'm most comfortable with. So I'll think of that person as if like I'm explaining this to them. Like when I'm recording this podcast, I'm talking to you like you're one of my best friends. So I will drop an F-bomb. I will call you bitch sometimes. Like we're going to joke here. We're going to have fun. I'm going to be silly. I'm going to be angry. Like I'm going to be who I am in the moment because you're my girl. That's how I think of you. And that's how I would speak to a bestie or my sister. So who is that person for you? Start thinking of them. And I know it's kind of contradictory because I'm like, pretend as if 100,000 people. I don't say that to freak you out and have you clam up. I say that to excite you, to put out good value. But then when you're recording it, use the same voice, the same verbiage, the same cadence, the same energy that you would to somebody that you love. Okay. So a quick check with your content on like, is it audacious enough? Like a quick little audit here would be if your post makes everybody comfortable, like if everybody agrees with your post, it's not audacious enough. Like there's a level of truth and audacity, a level of truth and authenticity rather that we have yet to uncover. So I think that would be really good for you to explore and to examine. So if you take one thing from this episode, I want it to be this. Your content becomes impossible to ignore the moment you stop diluting your truth and power. The moment you stop trying to make it perfect, the moment you stop trying to sound like her, the moment you stop trying to be likable and relatable, and the faster you just get to who you are. That's it. No bells and whistles. Yes, there's tricks to the game. Yes, we got to maximize the window. Yes, we want to, hold attention. We want to be entertaining. We want to, there's strategy here. But that's the fire. The gasoline to it all is you. You are the gasoline. Your truth, your power. You don't necessarily need to be more consistent, but you do probably need to be more convicted. You don't necessarily need a new strategy, but you do probably need to start saying the thing that everybody else is afraid to. That's a great strategy. So really quickly, for those of you who are ready to unlock this version of you who owns the room online, who knows that she's it, who just like, you show up and you're the garden, like the fullest, most beautiful, flourishing garden. That version of you. I have re-recorded and updated one of my most popular trainings. It's called It Factor. It is an activator. That's why I created it. I created this training to activate this version of you, to pull out the hottest, most magnetic, most certain, most it version of you. So then you can then apply that to your content, your brand, everything. Sprinkle that shit on everything. Okay, so I've updated this and re-recorded it through the lens of Audacity and visibility as part of this theme. So if you're interested in that, I'm going to teach you exactly how to harness that energy and then to show up with that energy in your message and your presence, the same type of energy that stops the scrolls and, makes people pay attention because you are it. You're her, the one that they've been looking for. All right, so I will link that in the show notes, It Factor. And then the last thing I'll say to you is at the end of the day, the world does not, well, let's say the internet. The internet does not reward the quiet, humble ones. It rewards the audacious truth tellers. That's who will win the internet. The ones who understand the value. They understand their power. They don't need to necessarily try hard. They just need to be who they are, and they tell it like it is. That's who's going to win the game. And your time to step into that energy and to be her is now. I hope you enjoyed this. If so, please leave us 5 stars on iTunes or wherever you listen. Please subscribe on YouTube, screenshot, share to your stories, all the things. It's so, so, so helpful. I love you so much, and I will see you here next week. Bye.